Okay, so y'all know I was just watching my local black child. Okay, I love her. But today we are about to get into something deep. So I've decided it's time, it's my time. It's my time to finally talk about all of my experiences, getting my story times in there, and being honest. I decided to do my story times kind of in chronological order. So you're gonna see y'all about to see a lot, okay? I'm just gonna leave it at that. Now, I know why you clicked on this video, and it's because you saw the fucking title and was like, bitch, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why would you do that? Like, what's wrong with you? But let me let y'all know, I was young, dumb. Yeah, I was just young and dumb. I was young and dumb. So let's get into a video. Oh, and by the way, like, comment, and subscribe. Now, y'all, when this happened, I was in my first year of college. I had just moved out of my mom's house, and I was going through a little bit of a tough financial time, being honest. Um, I had roommates. My boyfriend being one of them. I guess you could call him a roommate. I don't know. And what are we gonna call my boyfriend at the time? Because he has to have a name. Because he has a whole fucking series. Oh no, I can't say that. I was gonna say my dad's nickname for him, but that would be fucked up. Um, what is that little baggie that dudes be carrying around and they'll have it hanging out their pocket because they feel like it make them look cool? What is it called? Hold on, because I'm about to look it up. Oh, Crown Royal. We're gonna call him Crown Royal. Let me write that on the paper because y'all know I will forget his name real quick. Real quick. And I'm embarrassed. Just don't judge me too much, but we're gonna get into this. So I was in a tough time at this time financially, and Crown Royal had already met my family, and I don't know, they wasn't really feeling him. They was cool with him because I loved him at that time, but they wasn't really cool with him because I know my grandparents are cool with you. When they cool with you, they invite you over to their house by yourself. They want to see you, spend time with you. Like, I know when my family's cool with somebody. Even with my dad. My dad lived right down the street. If he's really feeling the dude I'm dating, he's gonna be calling that dude, coming over to kick it with the dude. Like, that's how my dad is. And my family really didn't reach out to him like that. They said they didn't believe we were gonna make it. And I was like, I'm going to show them. Yeah, they told my dumb ass. So at this point in time, we were looking for a place to stay because I was just ready to move. It was too much on me, financially, mentally, psychologically. And you know how sometimes in your relationship you feel like you'll grow closer to each other if you just spread your wings and get your own spot where you don't have to worry about different emotions, auras, and etc. Being projected on one another. So I'm like, okay, it's time for us to get our own place. Yeah, we started looking, and nobody told me you actually have to save up for the fucking deposit. And my first place, my mom set it up. She filled out the applications and everything, so I literally had no idea how it worked. And because I was moving out and didn't tell her, she never sat down and had that talk with me. But once I found out you need a deposit, me and my mom sitting down, she was like, well, I can't assist you because I'm going through something financially right now too. So you know me, I'm a Papa's girl. My Papa is my best friend. And so I called my Papa and I let him know what was going on. And he was like, yeah, my Papa is so petty, so petty. He was like, what happened to that little nigga you dating? We still together, Papa. He was like, why that little nigga ain't come on? And he's not saying it like disrespectful. He's saying it to be pet. Yeah, that's still disrespectful. Yeah, he's petty. Oh my God. He was like, why that little nigga can't pay for it? And you know what? When he said that, I'm just sitting on the phone like, actually, I wonder why. Because he don't, you'll see in another story time, but I would just leave it at he didn't pay for shit. So I thought if anybody had a savings account in the household, it would be him. But yeah. So I'm like, well, Papa, we're both going through financially. He was like, how are y'all going through financially? It's y'all have two other roommates with y'all. Your rent's cheap. I was like, Papa, I make $7.25, and his job paid $8.10. Like, what? Okay, and then so Papa sat there. We did the math, and he was like, all right, I'll pay y'all deposit for y'all. And I'm like, okay, that's a blessing. And they wasn't asking for first and last. They just wanted the first and the deposit. So we came up with the first. And mind y'all, we was looking at a 3-bedroom house with 2.5 bathrooms. And I know you're thinking, if you couldn't come up with the deposit in the first month's rent, how were you going to keep paying for it? Okay, so since I had good credit, I was not used to paying for a deposit. This was my first time. And because his credit was shot to hell, we had a huge deposit. And with our roommates at the time, since we were in college, not paying for anything, we had a $500 light bill, $500 water bill, and it was just me. I was like, okay, well, I'll front y'all he was like, I'll front y'all the deposit. Front, meaning we have to pay him back. Me and my papa went to the bank, we signed a contract, and me and my boyfriend were supposed to pay him back. Yeah, the shit was it was just so disgusting. Like, it was disgusting. So my two roommates used to run up the bills, and they never ever ever paid their part. So the light bill would be like 500 fucking dollars. And that's a lot on me making 725, paying the rent by myself and all of the bills. It was a lot. So I was over it. And I don't know why I wanted to get a place with my boyfriend when he already don't help here. Like, I understand him not want to pay their part, but even if we're dividing it into four and he's just paying his 1/4 while I pay the other 3/4, that would have been a little bit of help. But he didn't even pay his part. So I don't know why I wanted. Yeah, I was just stupid. I was stupid. So, anyways, comes time for us. We applied for the home. We got approved, and we were supposed to go in and sign the lease. His uncle dies. I called the landlord. It's a private landlord. She was so understanding. She was so respectful. She was like, well, as soon as y'all come back in town from the funeral, we can sign the lease then. And so I'm talking to him, and I'm like, so are you going to the funeral or what? And he was like, what do you mean, am I going to the funeral? I'm like, well, how are you going to pay for the funeral if you still don't even have your part for the first month's rent? He was like, well, I got a little bit of money that I can use while I'm down there. Do you think you could give me some of the deposit to pay for my ticket there and back? And I was like, I really don't know, because, my papa is expecting to see us in that house in 2 weeks. And even if it's not us, he's still expecting to see me there in 2 weeks. And he was like, nah, I'll have it back to you in 2 weeks. You'll see. He was like, I'll just go down there and, ask my mom or my grandma to front me. And I'm like, but if they was going to front you, wouldn't they have fronted you, now? That way my papa didn't have to pay the whole thing. And, and he's getting mad. He's getting agitated. And it sparked a little bit of an argument. So eventually I was like, okay, look, I'll go ahead. I did not give him the money. I paid for the ticket there and back. It ended up taking about 60-75%, because it wasn't just the ticket there and back. It was also a way for him to get to his mom's house, because if I'm not mistaken, the place where it was at wasn't even close to his mom's house. And there was no Uber and Lyft back then, y'all. There was no Uber and Lyft. Oh my God, why is my camera sliding? And I never noticed. But yeah. So at that point in time, I think it came up to about, I want to say 700-800, because it was a last minute. He wanted to be there literally by the next day and be back in about 2 weeks. And that literally was cutting it super close for our lease. So I should have known that he was a piece of shit and he wasn't following through with it. But, I was just stupid. Yeah, my body feels weird. I know I'm getting fat, but am I getting this fat? Okay, but anyways, so yeah, he goes down there, and while he's down there, I'm comforting him, I'm consoling him, and then I hear his sister make a little comment. Why she always calling you? Wouldn't you check up on who you're dating if their uncle just died? And mind you, I did not call him all the time because I had a whole fucking life. Like, I got active back then. So he probably got 2 calls a day and no text messages. That's how it was. I'm not going to be all up under you. I'm going to allow you your time to grieve, see your family, all of that. So I was like, why this bitch acting weird? So then he told me he was staying at he told me he was staying with family or whatever down there. And while we was on the phone one day, he said, yeah, I'm going to go over and visit my uncle so-and-so. I'm not going to get him the name. They're not important. And I'm like, isn't that whose house you're supposed to be staying at this whole time? And he's like, oh, I ended up staying with my best friend. He was like, I knew you wouldn't mind. And I'm like, how did you know that? Like, how did you know that? And he was like, oh, because nothing's ever happened to us. We're not even like that. Now, mind y'all, I'm not insecure for nothing. But the way he talked about his best friend, the way he dragged her through the mud like she was a hoe, she'll suck any dick, she'll fuck anybody moving, all that kinds of stuff, it made me not really comfortable with him being over there, if you get what I'm saying. Because if she doesn't have respect and boundaries, how am I supposed to know that she's not walking around you in her underwear? Like, you get what I'm saying? So it was like more so a respect thing, and I'm not about to expect somebody to put up respect and boundaries when they normally don't do that. They normally don't have those sorts of things. So anyways, about 4 or 5 days into the trip, he starts acting weird. He's barely calling, barely texting, not answering. And my best friend is like, oh, well, maybe he fucking somebody else, because that's how dudes act when they're cheating. They act weird. He was like, because if he was really grieving, he'd be calling you because he knows that his family don't really give a fuck about him, because at this point in time things happened and it was a little bit of at odds. And so I'm like, okay, but he was like, I could be wrong, so don't just take my word. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to see how he's acting when he get back. So he was acting strange the whole rest of the trip. We barely talked. We didn't even get to talk about whether he was able to get up the money. And I know it's weird to be at a funeral asking people for money, so I should have known that was bullshit, but in my mind I'm thinking he's telling the truth, because prior to things getting really bad to where he had to move in with me, his family was a truly good support system. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to think too much of it. Y'all, he came back home and was acting so weird, combative, starting arguments, not just with me, but with our roommates as well. And it was just getting to the point where it was really disrespectful, petty, and unnecessary. Like, he would get mad at them for not paying bills, but he don't pay no bills either. So I'm like, what are you talking about? And eventually his best friend started like blowing up his phone, and he wasn't really answering. I'm like, why you not answering her calls? Wasn't you just staying at her house for 2 weeks? And he was like, cuz she a bitch, she a hoe, she acting funny, blah blah blah. Apparently she had texted him saying that he gave her an STD, and they had a falling out about that. And if you want to see how that played out, you'll have to go watch that other video. But basically, I found out that when I paid for his trip, he done took his ass down there and splurged. Like, how do I explain this? You know how I said I paid for the ticket, right? So, how do I explain this? He changed the date of the ticket, if that makes sense. He changed the date of the ticket, getting a partial refund. It was a refundable ticket, getting a partial refund. That's why he didn't come back on time, and he was acting so shady. He already knew he changed the date. The money he got back, he's splurging on her like he got money, when really it's my money. So basically, I was looking like boo-boo the fool to this girl. She probably didn't even believe we was in a real committed relationship, being honest, because niggas be lying. Was I ever mad at her? Hell no. I'm not even a type where, oh, this bitch don't owe me anything, because I feel like as a woman, you owe another woman respect, decency, and you owe yourself self-respect. You should never play second to nobody, especially when you know they have a girl. And because she's met me before, we've talked, we've conversated, she knows that we're dating, but I'm just like, well, maybe he told her some stupid shit, you know what I'm saying? But regardless, I would have called and confirmed before anything like that happened. So yeah, that's what it was. I ended up paying for him to go splurge on her and go fuck on her. I don't even know if he really went to the funeral, because he never said how the funeral was or said anything about seeing his family. If I'm not mistaken, we ended up talking at one point in time, and he was just like, oh, I wasn't really feeling my family, they was giving me weird vibes, da da da. and he was like at odds with them. So I don't even know if he really went to the funeral, if he spent the whole time laid up with her. So yeah, but I ended up finding out later, couple weeks later, if not a couple months, that they ended up having sex and ended up having to go get tested for an STD because he was a fucking dumbass and couldn't even use a condom. Yeah, the stupidity. But again, thank y'all for watching my video. That was Crown Royal and how I paid to fuck her. And let me tell y'all about the money, because the money was funny, honey. We ended up not moving into the place. My grandfather did not fuck with him at all. In fact, my whole family didn't, because he had no intentions on paying me back. He was not even trying. And at times he would start arguments just so he could get out of like financial stuff. So I knew he was never gonna pay me back. Baby, 3 4 years down the line, he calls me one day. He's like, oh, I got the money for you, I can pay you back now if you want. I'm like, okay, that's good, you don't have to, but if you want to, you can, because it would be nice. And he never sent the money. He was hoping that when he called me I was going to say no and that I already paid it. So he never paid my grandpa back. It didn't matter because my grandpa already didn't like him. That just made him hate him. So it just was what it was.